In June 1962, 3 men walked out of the most secure prison in America, and no one has ever proved they didn't make it. For decades, the escape from Alcatraz has been called impossible. Surrounded by freezing water, powerful currents, and constant armed guards, the island prison was designed for one purpose: making escape a death sentence. Yet on the morning of June 12th, prison officers discovered something so bizarre, it looked like a scene from a movie. 3 prisoners had vanished. In their beds lay lifelike dummy heads, staring back at the guards while the real men were already gone. Those 3 men were Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin. They weren't ordinary inmates. Morris had an IQ reportedly above average and a long history of escaping prisons. The Anglin brothers had spent their lives working on farms and around water in rural Georgia and Florida. They knew how to build, improvise, and survive. When they arrived at Alcatraz, they faced a prison unlike any other. Sitting on a rocky island in San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz was considered escape-proof. The icy water rarely climbed above 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Strong tides could drag even experienced swimmers out toward the Pacific Ocean. Sharks weren't the real danger, the water itself was. Most prisoners accepted there was no way out. Frank Morris didn't. Over the next several months, Morris quietly studied every weakness in the prison. He noticed that behind the ventilation grills in their cells was old, crumbling concrete weakened by years of moisture. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Using stolen spoons, homemade tools, and even parts from a vacuum cleaner motor, the men slowly chipped away at the concrete. They worked only during the prison's daily music hour, when the sound of instruments masked the scraping. Every night, they hid the growing holes with carefully painted fake wall panels. The digging continued for months. No guard noticed. Behind the cells was an unused utility corridor. Once the openings became large enough, the prisoners squeezed through the walls into the hidden space. There, they built a secret workshop directly above the prison cells. That workshop became the heart of one of history's greatest prison escapes. The men stole more than 50 raincoats from the prison laundry. At first, no one understood why. Then they stitched them together by hand. The raincoats became waterproof material for an inflatable raft and homemade life jackets. Instead of needles, they used improvised tools. Instead of glue, they melted rubber with steam pipes. Every piece had to work perfectly because one leak meant certain death. But they had another problem: nighttime bed checks. Every prisoner had to appear asleep, so the escapees created fake heads using soap, toilet paper, concrete dust, and paint. They collected real hair from the prison barbershop floor and glued it onto the models. From a distance, they looked disturbingly real. Even the guards walked past without suspicion. On the night of June 11, 1962, the plan finally began. After lights out, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers climbed through the holes behind their cells. A 4th conspirator, Alan West, desperately tried to join them, but the concrete around his opening refused to break away. By the time he finally widened the hole, the others were gone. West never saw them again. The 3 men climbed into the utility corridor, made their way to the prison roof, crossed pipes and buildings in complete darkness, then slipped down the outside of the prison toward the shoreline. Every step risked discovery. One spotlight, one guard, one mistake, and it would all be over. At the edge of the island, they inflated their homemade raft using a concertina-like device they had built themselves. Then they disappeared into the night. The next morning, guards entered the cell block expecting another ordinary prison count. Instead, they found empty beds. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then one officer touched a prisoner's head. It rolled onto the floor. The alarm sounded across Alcatraz. Boats, helicopters, Coast Guard crews, and FBI agents launched one of the largest manhunts in the prison's history. Debris was discovered floating in the bay: a paddle, pieces of a homemade life jacket, personal belongings sealed in waterproof bags, but no bodies. Authorities concluded the men almost certainly drowned in the freezing currents. Case closed. Except the evidence never completely fit. Ocean experts later suggested that, under the right tidal conditions, it was actually possible to survive the crossing. Modern recreations have shown that carefully timed departures could carry a raft toward safer shorelines instead of out to sea. Then came even stranger developments. Members of the Anglin family claimed they continued receiving mysterious postcards for years. Some relatives said they secretly met the brothers long after the escape. Family photographs surfaced that some believed showed John and Clarence alive decades later in Brazil. None of it has ever been conclusively verified. In 2013, the San Francisco Police Department reportedly received a letter allegedly written by an elderly man claiming to be John Anglin. The writer said all 3 had survived, that Frank Morris had died years earlier, and that he was willing to surrender if promised medical treatment and a short prison sentence. The FBI examined the claim but could not authenticate it. Officially, the case remains unresolved. Alcatraz itself closed just 1 year after the escape in 1963. Rising operating costs, not the breakout, were the primary reason. Yet the prison's reputation would never recover. The escape that was supposed to be impossible had become its defining story. More than 60 years later, no one can say with certainty what happened after that raft entered the darkness of San Francisco Bay. Did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers drown drown within minutes? Or did 3 determined prisoners achieve what the most secure prison in America insisted could never be done? History still has no final answer. And sometimes the greatest prison escape ever recorded is remembered not because we know how it ended, but because we never found the men who wrote the ending themselves.